Warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Baroka versus Kaizer Chiefs as I look at a Dstv Premiership encounter. So, on today's episode, I'll have a tactical pre-match analysis of Baroka versus Kaizer Chiefs. So the blue team then will represent Baroka and the red team will represent Kaizer Chiefs. So when you have a look then at Baroka, this is a side then that currently sit within the relegation zone. To be specific, they sit at number 16. So it is very important then that they start picking up points if they are to avoid relegation. And when you also have a look at Baroka, they have to a certain degree have been solid, so they haven't been conceding too many goals. However, their biggest problem then has been scoring the goals. But let's then go into the 11 that they would go with. So in goals then, they would go with Uchipezeze, and then a back four then of Mpahlele as the right side as the right back, and then as the right sided centre back, they would have Masiya. As the left sided centre back, you'd have Denman Farmer, and then as the left back then they would have Gabart. So when you have a look then at this defense, this is a defense then that has improved with regards to their solidity and their discipline as well. They've been key then ensuring that a lot of teams don't then create too many chances and aren't able then to score those goals against this Baroka side. And when you have then a look at the heart of midfield, you do have Udlala, and then you also have Kambala. So when you have a look then at this block and you have a look at the square of these four players, these four players have been very key then for Baroka with regards then to ensuring that they don't concede too many chances and that then they look to be solid within games and they look to compete in games. So these four then have been very, very solid for them. However, when we have a look then at Udlala, this is a player then who would normally drop deep and look to start play for this Baroka side whenever then they are in possession of the ball and they can actually put their foot on the ball and play. With Udlala then, this is a player then who's got a very good range of passing, especially considering then that he can play those diagonal passes where then he can look to find his wingers in Upombi on the right hand side and then Usutole on the left hand side. A player then who has very good technique and will combat within the heart of midfield. And then alongside him you do have Kambala. So when you move on right along then and you have a look at the right wing. So at right wing then we have seen a very young player come through and he's been very, very exciting, and he goes by the name of Upombi. So when you have a look at him then, he is a very, very quick player and a player then who's very good in 1v1 situations. He's very tricky and he's always then looking to go one-on-one with his man, and once he goes one-on-one with his man, he's always looking then to beat his man and look to come in on the inside, and he can also go on the outside as well, and he's very, very quick. This is a player then who I think will grow to become a very key player for this Baroka side. And then when you have a look at the left-hand side, they will most likely start then with Usitole. And then when you have a look at the front two then, which becomes very important because Baroka have really been struggling then to score those goals. You've got then Mahopa, and then you've got Umkaka as well. However, they could always then also go with Umbulu's there, Masiya's also there. So those are two players then who have been in the past couple of weeks have had good performances. So they could actually start against this Kaizer Chiefs side. So when you have a look at it then, and you have a look at this Baroka side, and you have a look at their key players and where it's important for this Baroka side to start doing well is up front then. So with Mahopa and with Umkaka or Mbule, or Mbulu or then Masiya, it is very important then that they look to start finishing off those chances and that they really then give Baroka that presence within the box because they've really struggled to score those goals. And with Mbulu then, we do know that as of late he has scored a couple of beautiful goals, you know, so that is a player then who could always come off the bench if he doesn't start. You've got Masiya as well who can come off the bench if he doesn't start as well. And when you then have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, the last time out they did go with the back three. So when you have then a look at Upombi, I think he's going to have a lot of joy, especially coming up against then a Frosler, because the last time out Frosler did start as a left wing back. So if they do go with the Frosler, I think then that he could have a lot of joy, especially considering then that with this 3-4-3 system, this hole then is a hole that often gets vacated by the wing back. So this is where Bombi can look to come in and look to exploit then this Kaizer Chiefs side, and look then to use his speed then to ensure that he's able then to penetrate within the final third and create chances for those players up front. And with this Baroka side then, they will look to press very high. They will look to try and match Kaizer Chiefs within the heart of midfield, and they will play then a high intensity encounter. And they are also then a very, very physical team. However, the key player then for this Baroka side, I do see Mbulu starting because of his recent performances and how I think Baroka really, really need goals to survive within the Dstv Premiership. And a player then to watch out for is Upombi as well. And then moving on right along then, let's have a look at Kaizer Chiefs. So with Kaizer Chiefs then, there's been a lot of interesting things that have been happening at Kaizer Chiefs, and a lot of talk then, especially then regarding Stuart Baxter and his future, and also then the personnel which is used by Kaizer Chiefs and used then by Stuart Baxter. However, the last time out against Cape Town City then, they did play to a 0-0 draw, and I think they were a bit better than they were against TS Galaxy, but against Cape Town City, I still don't think that they had a good game, especially considering that in the final third, they just couldn't convert those chances, and at times they weren't creating sufficient chances as well. However, we did see them keep the ball. At times, they looked to rotate the ball and they were progressing the ball. However, where it matters most within the final third, they just couldn't finish off those chances, and they also lacked quality at times. So when you have then a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, and it's going to be very interesting, especially coming to the end of the season with regards then to finishing out the second round, because I do foresee quite a few players coming in. So in regards then to Kaizer Chiefs, as much as that I'm going to give this 11, we could very well see changes. We could see certain players coming in. So this is subject to change. So within goals then, I do see Brandon Peterson carrying on within goals, because I think that he's had very good performances in the Nedbank Cup against TS Galaxy, and then against Cape Town City, I think he was also very, very good within goals, and I do foresee him then keeping the gloves for this Kaizer Chiefs side. When you have a look at the back three that this Kaizer Chiefs side went with the last time out, they did start then with Eric Matoa as a right-sided centre-back. They started with Cardoso as a centre-back who plays in between the two. And then at left-sided centre-back, they did start with Utube. So when you have a look at it then, with Matoa and Cardoso, this is a pairing then that oftentimes they do struggle a lot to play together, especially then when a vertical ball is played in behind. So whenever then you would have maybe a Mahopa who's very physical, and then you've got Mbulu, or you've got Mkaka, who can always then look to go in behind. Whenever then that ball is played in between them and played in behind, they tend to struggle to deal with that ball. And a lot of times they are flat-footed and they stand square on, as opposed to then maybe then one looking to engage play, and then one looking to go on the cover, so that when that ball is played, if he misses it, he can always go on the cover. However, a lot of the times they are square on, so when that ball is played, it's very easy then for the opposition striker to run onto that ball. So that is something that they've struggled with a lot. However, the last time out, we did see them keep a clean sheet. And then when you do have Tabani Dube as the left-sided centre-back, I believe that he's had quite a couple of good performances for this Kaizer Chiefs side this season, and I feel like whenever then he's been given a chance, he's shown glimpses as to why then he should be starting for this Kaizer Chiefs side, especially then when you have a look at how he's progressed and the recent matches as well. I think he's been very solid, and what then he offers for Kaizer Chiefs then in possession is that he would open up, and you'd obviously then allow Frosler to move high and wide. In possession of the ball, he's very comfortable on the ball. So at times you will see him then playing those line-breaking passes to find his midfielders, and a player then who's also then very well adept at progressing the ball from build-up phase into consolidation phase, and then when you look at him then defending, very good then at defending his box with regards then to cutting out those crosses whenever those crosses are played, and he reads the game very, very well. And then when you move on right along then within the heart of midfield, the last time out then, they did start with a double pivot of Njabulo Blom and Nange. So when you have a look at Njabulo Blom, I think he had a very, very good performance against Cape Town City, where he was very solid within the heart of midfield. He progressed the ball well, and also then he was very key at ensuring that at times he looked then to control the tempo of the game within the heart of midfield for this Kaizer Chiefs side. And he also rotates the ball very, very well within the heart of midfield. So I do foresee them then potentially going then with this double pivot. And then as the right wing back, they did go with Mphahlele, and then as the left wing back, they went with Froster. So my problem then with this is that at right wing back, Mphahlele, in my opinion, didn't have the best of performances. And then whenever then you look to offer us the width and within vertical zone 5, I just feel that he lacked quality a lot of the times, and decision making, and then also then his final ball within the final third, it really, really lacked. However, if you then play Frosla as the right wing back and then use Mabiliso as the left wing back, I think it is a lot better, because then that then would allow Reeve Frosler then to maximize his skill set. Whereas when he plays on the left, as much as he's an ambidextrous player and he's well able and adept at using his left foot, however, a lot of the times is that he's always taking a negative touch, because then he has to then take the touch on his right foot. As opposed then to look then, when you offer us that width, you should be looking to take the ball on your left foot, on the back foot, where you look then to progress the ball into space and look to move forward. Sometimes then he's looking to cut in, naturally so, because he's a right-footed player. And when you then play a right-footed player on the left-hand side, what happens often a lot of the times is that then when they are in deeper pockets of space, what happens that half of the field gets cut out, because then his body orientation isn't adequate, his body posture isn't positive, and he isn't opening up to the rest of the field, but he's collecting square on. And when he collects square on at times, a lot of the times then the options are there. Whereas if then you collect on your back foot, you open up, and then you've got a wider view of the pitch in relation to where your teammates would be. But if you collect square on, then you're facing this way, as opposed to then ensuring that you're facing the rest of the pitch, which then becomes very important with regards to trying to progress that ball. So I do think that on the left-hand side, they should start a natural left footer in Mabiliso. On the right-hand side, they should start Reeve Frosler, who will then offer that width on the right-hand side for Kaizer Chiefs, and then Mabiliso offering the width on the left-hand side for Kaizer Chiefs. And then they did then start with Parker, Dolly, and then Billiat as well. So that is the front three that they went with. And I just feel that when you have a look at this front three, I just honestly feel that it would be a lot better than if you had to start a striker up front and start Nukovic and then have Billiat operating within the left half space, looking then to drift in, occupy zone 14 and looking to drift into the box as well, and then having Dolly. With Dolly, we know that he would at times often look to occupy the right side of the half space. So at times you can drop really deep. Sometimes you can move further up the half space where he's looking then to penetrate within the final third. I just feel that it's better if they start then a natural striker up front. Or then maybe then look then to switch things up. Maybe then look to have a Billiat starting there. You could have Nkosi Mpilo operating on the left of a 3 and then have Dolly there. We do know that the last time out, Nkosi Mpilo did miss out. It was reported by Stuart Baxter that it was a bacterial infection. So it's going to be very interesting to see then if he's available. If so, then I do think that he should start on the left side of the 3, looking to operate within that half space, looking at times then to come infield and occupy then vertical zone 3, and also then looking to offer Kaizer Chiefs then that qualitative and positional superiority whenever then he looks to receive in between the lines, looking then to occupy the half space as well. Or they could look to go then with a striker, look to go with Nukovic or start Castro up front, have Billiat and have Dolly as well. So when you have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, they've got so many options that they could look to go with. And the most important thing to note then, when you have then a look at Baroka, is that they are playing at home. So they are playing at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium. So very interesting then with regards to the specifications of the pitch. The pitch is quite narrow and it is quite a small pitch. So it will make it then a lot easier then for teams then to often compress the space at times. So at times, I do see the teams then looking to compress the space, and at times, I do also see them being able then, well and able then, to look then to go and press teams right high up, you know, and because then the field is a bit smaller, so in relation to what the opposition is doing, at times they will look to sit very compact, and at times then they will look to press them. When they look to press them, because then it is a small pitch, there isn't so much space then to maneuver that ball, and then at times they will look to compress the pitch, and even then with them compressing the pitch, it still isn't really a big pitch. So there isn't always, at times, if you're able then to ensure that you sit well disciplined and tactically you're sound, even then for that ball to go in behind and to find your man, at times it does become very difficult then because of the specifications of the pitch. So I just had to explain that, because then different dynamics, we do see different dynamics within certain games. Whenever then the pitch is a bit smaller and a bit narrower, teams then are able then to look to press right high up. At times, teams then can also look to compress the pitch, and whenever then they do look to compress the space, it still then can at times work to their advantage. So ladies and gentlemen, do tell me, what do you make of this encounter? Baroka coming up against Kaizer Chiefs. I do foresee a draw in this one, because I do see Baroka then fighting for their lives against Kaizer Chiefs. Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.